Hey everybody, how we doing? So yeah, finally going back to doing a non-Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Specifically, one of my favorites, Spider-Man, released in 2002. After that, I'll be doing a commentary on Cinderella, released in 1950 to honor the Disney movie's 75th anniversary. But anyway, before we get to the commentary on Spider-Man, just want to let you know that Spider-Man 2002 is currently available to stream on these platforms I'm about to leave right here. You can listen to the commentary while watching the first Spider-Man movie on those picture streaming platforms. And of course, if you're old-fashioned like I am, you can also watch the original Spider-Man movie on DVD or VHS. I know that's what I'm doing, watching it on my DVD, because I love me my physical media. Anyway, let's whip on over and enjoy the show to Spider-Man. Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today we'll be doing a commentary on Spider-Man, the original 2002 live-action movie directed by Sam Raimi and starring Tobey Maguire as the titular character. Now, I was 5 going on 6 when the original movie was released in 2002. I remember it fondly, and this was my first live-action introduction to the character in general. I mean, the only other introduction to the character of Spider-Man that I was familiar with was the 1994 animated series developed by John Semper Jr. and aired on Fox Kids, but that's how I became hooked on the character. I mean, the animated series and the live-action movie starring Tobey Maguire is the reason I am such a fan of Spider-Man in general. And I think a lot of people my age and who are younger than me can probably say that Tobey Maguire was their Spider-Man. I mean, Tobey Maguire was to Spider-Man what Christopher Reeve was to Superman and what Hugh Jackman was to Wolverine for a lot of young people. Now, development for Spider-Man began in 1975, and of course, what's funny is that this isn't the first live-action iteration of Spider-Man, because in the late 70s, we also had the TV series starring Nicholas Hammond, but we don't talk about that series because, well, that series is crap. It isn't even faithful to the source material. It doesn't have Uncle Ben dying. It doesn't have great power responsibility. And somehow Jameson supports Spider-Man in that TV show. I mean, the less we talk about the live-action 1970s TV show, the better off we'll be. But anyway, like I was saying, development for Spider-Man began in 1975, hoping to compete against films like the Christopher Reeve Superman movie from 1978. The late but great Roger Corman, classic low-budget indie director, producer, and founder of New World Pictures, was the first to hold an option for Spider-Man and would have done the film with Orion Pictures. This version of the film fell through following budget disputes between Stan Lee and Roger Corman, and the failure of Superman 3 was the final nail in the coffin. It's kind of ironic because the late Corman would produce the unreleased Fantastic Four movie from 1994. But I guess I'll talk about that when I do a commentary on the 2005 Fantastic Four movie. Now, at one point, the now defunct Canon Films held the movie rights to Spider-Man. However, Canon owners Menahem Golan and Joran Globus were unfamiliar with the character and what made him tick. They thought he was some sort of werewolf character, and what I'm about to tell you is going to sound so WTF, but bear with me, this is so true. Canon's first version of the movie would have been a horror movie directed by Texas Chainsaw Massacre director Tobe Hooper, and would have seen Peter turn into a human tarantula monster. I am not making this shit up. But Stan Lee hated this horror movie version so much, and eventually it was scrapped. It's ironic that I mentioned Canon Pictures trying to do a Spider-Man movie, because ironically, Canon would produce Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, one of the worst superhero movies ever made. Now, Canon's second attempt would have been more faithful and had more humor, with Dr. Octopus as the main villain and Bob Hoskins in mind. I'll mention the whole Dr. Octopus later. Now, the studio wanted either John Cusack or Tom Cruise to play Spider-Man. Lauren Bacall and Katharine Hepburn were considered for the role of Aunt May, and Paul Newman or Gregory Peck were considered for the role of Uncle Ben. Now, plans for this proposed movie were cancelled after French studio Pathé bought Canon. And, well, what is Pathé? Well, Pathé is spelled P-A-T-H-E. I actually thought that it was spelled Pathy, but it is indeed spelled Pathé. After leaving Canon Films, Menahem Golan attempted to revive Spider-Man using everything that was developed at Canon. He sold TV rights to Viacom, video rights to Columbia Pictures, and theatrical rights to Coralco Pictures, which had James Cameron attached to write and direct the film. Now, before this, Cameron considered directing a live-action X-Men movie, but Stan Lee thought that Cameron was a better fit for Spider-Man. And of course, let me tell you something about James Cameron's version of Spider-Man. It would have been a different beast entirely, I tell you what. It would have been a darker and non-family friendly version of the character, which would have had Electro as the main villain, with Sandman as his bodyguard. It had profanity that would be comparable to Deadpool, and a sex scene between Spider-Man and Mary Jane on the Brooklyn Bridge. This script was written in 1993, and James Cameron had Leonardo DiCaprio in mind for the role of Spider-Man. At the time, Cameron had a great working relationship with 20th Century Fox, and Fox even attempted to acquire the film rights to Spider-Man, but those plans failed. By that point, MGM had bought the rights to produce Spider-Man. MGM sued Viacom, Sony, and Marvel, accusing them of fraud in the original deal with the defunct Canon. In 1996, after the lawsuit, Coralco and Marvel would file for bankruptcy, with Marvel being the only one to survive. Cameron would abandon Spider-Man in favor of directing True Lies and Titanic. And of course, the failure of Batman and Robin almost killed Spider-Man's chances of a live-action movie, but the success of Blade proved a Marvel movie could work in live action. After Marvel survived their bankruptcy in 1998, Golan's chances of making a Spider-Man movie expired, and the rights to Spider-Man reverted back to Marvel. To keep themselves afloat, Marvel sold the rights to Spider-Man to Sony Pictures Entertainment on March of 1999. They also didn't hire James Cameron to direct, but you'll see aspects that survived in the film, which I'll explain later. Now, here's an interesting fact about Peter Parker's casting. Before Tobey Maguire was cast as Spider-Man, other actors considered for the role were Leonardo DiCaprio, Freddie Prinze Jr., Chris O'Donnell, Ewan McGregor, Jude Law, Wes Bentley, and the late Heath Ledger. Sam Raimi cast Maguire as the role of Spider-Man based on his performance in The Cider House Rules. Before he was cast as Harry Osborn, James Franco screen tested for the part of Spider-Man. And before he was cast as Flash Thompson, Joe Manganiello also auditioned for the role of Spider-Man. Gosh, I hope I pronounced his last name right. I really hope I did. Now, Flash Thompson was also another character that made his comic book debut in Peter's comic book debut, Amazing Fantasy number 15, so he was there since the beginning. I mean, I could if I wanted to get girls. Now, Harry Osborn made his comic book debut in Amazing Spider-Man number 31 in 1965, and Mary Jane Watson made her first unseen appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 25 in 1965. Mary Jane would make her full appearance, face fully seen, in 1966 in issue number 42 of Amazing Spider-Man. And, of course, before Kirsten Dunst was cast as Mary Jane Watson, Kate Hudson was offered the part, but she turned it down. Other actresses that didn't get the part of Mary Jane were ladies like Kate Bosworth and Eliza Dushku, which is pretty ironic because Kate Bosworth would end up playing Lois Lane in Superman Returns, and Eliza Dushku would voice She-Hulk in Hulk and the Agents of Smash. Now, interesting fact about the director. Now, of course, this was my first Sam Raimi movie. At the time, I didn't know that he was known for directing horror films like the Evil Dead trilogy. But before Sam Raimi was hired, other directors considered to direct Spider-Man were Roland Emmerich, Jean de Bont, Chris Columbus, Barry Sonnenfeld, Tim Burton, Michael Bay, Ang Lee, David Fincher, Tony Scott, and M. Night Shyamalan. What a twist! Most of these directors were either uninterested or unable to work on Spider-Man due to working on other movies. Back when Thor was in development hell, one version of a Thor movie had Sam Raimi helmed to direct, but Sam had been a major Spider-Man fan since he was a kid. Stan Lee was so impressed with this, he recommended Raimi to the Spider-Man movie. His enthusiasm and passion for the character got him the job of directing. Now, here's an interesting fact. If David Fincher had directed Spider-Man, his take on Spider-Man would have skipped the origin and would have been an adaptation of the infamous storyline, The Night Gwen Stacy Died. But the studio wasn't interested in that. Before Willem Dafoe was cast as Norman Osborn, actors like Nicolas Cage, Jason Isaacs, John Malkovich, and Billy Bob Thornton were all considered for the role of Norman Osborn, but they all turned it down. And I think Willem Dafoe is perfectly cast as Osborn and Green Goblin. I don't think I could imagine Nick Cage as Norman Osborn. I mean, it'd be kind of funny if he said lines like, I'm something of a scientist myself. Yeah, that's my Nicolas Cage impression. If you want, I could do more Nick Cage impressions on the show. Because I'm Nicolas Cage. Now, Norman Osborn made his full appearance as, himself in Amazing Spider-Man number 37 in 1966. Back to formula. Famous last words. I'm sure that won't bite you in the ass. You're Frank? Now, Dr. Strom may be considered a minor character but in this movie, but in the comics, Professor Strom, his first name Mendel, is a supervillain who made his comic book debut in The Amazing Spider-Man number 37. Now, Peter's respective guardians, Uncle Ben and Aunt May, actually made a previous appearance before Spider-Man debuted in Amazing Fantasy number 15. A prototype version of Uncle Ben and Aunt May made their comic book debut in Strange Tales number 97, released in 1962. Now, what's Strange Tales, you may ask? Well, Strange Tales was an anthology comic series from Marvel that ranged in genres, from horror to science fiction to fantasy and suspense. The Human Torch from the Fantastic Four was Strange Tales' first superhero to be a regular on the series. Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel worked on Strange Tales. Strange Tales is also notable for introducing Doctor Strange and Nick Fury. Now, Amazing Fantasy number 15 was also the last issue that the series ever did. Thankfully, Spider-Man got, the Amazing Spider-Man to, become the official flagship series that has thankfully got popular. Thank goodness for that. I feel a little woozy here. Ugh. But yeah, the dude is so sick he can't even land on the bed. But yeah, this definitely feels like a Sam Raimi movie with all the horror aspects and horror jump scares. I know the CG doesn't hold up, but I kind of like this CG sequence of Peter's DNA being altered. It kind of works for me. Yeah, Dr. Strom is also, in the comics, he also turned into a cyborg supervillain. It's a shame that he was off in this version. Bottoms up. I still think it's kind of funny that a year after doing Spider-Man, Willem Dafoe would voice Gil the fish on in Finding Nemo. It's like I didn't recognize his voice when I first watched Finding Nemo in theaters, but years later, it's like, wait, is that Willem Dafoe voicing the fish? And yep, I mean he's perfectly cast as Gil the fish. I mean, you gotta agree that no matter the quality of the film, if Willem Dafoe is in the movie, he's never gonna half-ass a performance. He will carry the film on his back if he needs to. He's never terrible in a terrible movie, if you know what I mean. That's not good. Oof, I think he might be dead as a doornail. Oh, he's alive! But how did he manage to get out of the straps? And so the Green Goblin is born. I actually like this perspective shot of, Peter realizing, wait, my vision isn't crap. I don't need the glasses. What's up with that? It's actually a nice little detail that I always liked. I can see. Oh no, he's hot! Yeah. You pervert. I could never do a parkour stunt like that. I still think Cliff Robertson is my favorite on-screen Uncle Ben, even if you know, even if it's not much. You should have given her the shoulder touch and gone, "Hey." Although who knows if that would have turned out better. Whoopsie daisies. So did Norman just quietly go into the house and then put a shirt back on before going back into his house? And he managed to get a tie on. Stolen. Huh. I, in the background, you can see the truck for the Daily Bugle. That's a nice little attention to detail. You know, I remember seeing this clip being promoted on TV, and it definitely was definitely got me interested in it as a 5-year-old. And apparently, that took 100 takes. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not easy to perfect something like that. Brrr. Brrr. I mean, Tobey Maguire does play the shy boy very well. It's like, damn it, I blew it! And of course, here it comes, the infamous organic web shooters, or maybe divisive. I guess I can talk about another aspect that James Cameron James Cameron's movie that survived into the official movie. Now, it was James Cameron's idea to do organic web shooters for the film, and even Spider-Man co-screenwriter David Koepp, who's best known for writing co-writing the adaptation to Jurassic Park, was also agreed with the idea of organic web shooters. Now, Sam Raimi agreed with the idea of organic web shooters, feeling like the comic book mechanical web shooters would have stretched the suspended disbelief of audiences, much to the ire of diehard fans. I mean, I didn't know about the mechanical web shooters until I started reading the comics. I always thought it was organic web shooters as well. Famous last words. That's a cool shot. And I actually like the sound effect for the spider senses. It's a good sound effect. Whoop-pow! Oh, guy, that teacher must have jelly wrists or something. Jerk. Yeah, everyone is astonished. I don't know if Mary Jane is turned on by that. Never noticed that Baskin Robbins in the background. Yeah, that's when he starts to realize it was the spider that caused it. Now, I should point out the spider in the room. I don't know, it'd be kind of dumb of me to say elephant, but yeah, in the comics, it was a spider that was exposed to radioactive rays that bit Peter. It wasn't genetically enhanced. It was in the Ultimate comics, like Ultimate Spider-Man, that introduced the concept of a genetically enhanced spider that bit Peter, and that's what they went with for the movie. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of radioactive rays being the cause of Peter's powers, having the strength and speed and enhanced abilities of a radioactive spider. And let me just also talk about the score composed by Danny Elfman. It's definitely one of my favorite superhero scores. And to think that Danny Elfman also did the score for Batman, which is really cool. I mean, I am conflicted on whether I like the score to the first Spider-Man movie or the score to the first Batman movie. It's such a conflict, and I sometimes forget that, oh yeah, Danny Elfman was a rock star for a band called Oingo Boingo. Oh, careful. Careful saying Shazam, Peter. You don't want DC to sue your ass. Whoopee! And of course, that little gesture that Peter does to let out his web, that's actually the symbol of love. I sometimes forget that. I mean, I guess Spider-Man overshadowed that symbol. What could possibly go wrong? George of the jungle, watch out for that tree. Watch out for that tree. Yeah, so was he just webbing for hours or something? I guess that would explain why it would turn into the nighttime. But yeah, if Uncle Ben was there, he'd probably have a look that says, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Michelangelo, meatloaf and veggies in oven. Actually, that note is pretty passive aggressive, if you ask me. Ugh, Mary Jane's father sucks. It's garbage day! At night. Makes me wonder how old Peter was when he heard the yelling. Yeah, he'll live. But he probably looks like an asshole knowing that he pretty much got his ass kicked by someone he used to bully. But this does make me question their heights. Da, da, da. Yeah, like Joe Manganiello is 6'5", and Tobey Maguire is 5'8". I mean, it's even funnier knowing that Flash Thompson got his ass kicked by a guy who's shorter than him. But Manganiello is also shorter than me. Is it Manganiello or Manganiello? Uh, yeah. Let me look up how to pronounce it. Joe Manganiello. Manganiello, okay. Uh, uh let me uh let me play it for you.
Joe Manganiello.
Manganiello. Okay, Manganiello. I was pronounced Manganiello. Mega. I'm going to. And, Gyllenhaal is less difficult to pronounce. Such a wonderful line. Okay, maybe it's not as bad as. Okay, maybe the hunch line or. I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere. Okay, well, actually, I've never been bothered by those lines. What a snob. About his car. I mean, I have a 2016 Chrysler, and I'm happy with it. And so, yeah, messes happen. This is me trying to look for a car. Colorful characters a must. Actually, yeah, I do like this sequence of the montage of Peter developing his costume. And like I said, it's paired wonderfully with Danny Elfman's composition. And I like the guitar riff that goes with it. It really does add perfection to the scene. I'm not sure who actually drew that costume of Spider-Man's costume, but damn, it's good looking. A really awesome design of Spider-Man. Wouldn't you like to be a Pepper too? Oof. Oof. Try explaining the lamp. Typical teenager response. Whether the webbing dissolves in an hour, I'm not sure. Is this the end of Norman Osborn? And of course, that is a great cackle on Defoe's part. And of course, let me mention the car. Now, that car is an Oldsmobile Delta 88. Let me clarify that. Yeah, it's a yellow 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88, and the car has been in nearly every film that Sam Raimi has directed, starting with The Evil Dead in 1981. The car is nicknamed as the classic, and it's become an Easter egg and emblem of his independent horror roots. Now, Sam's father originally purchased the car back in 1973, and Sam and a certain friend of his that I'll mention later used it in their Super 8 films as teenagers. Now, the Delta 88 has appeared in films like Spider-Man, Drag Me to Hell, and, most recently, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In Army of Darkness, Ash Williams, the main character, modifies the car with armor and weapons it to fight the Deadites. It's kind of nice that, the car is a nice reminder of Raimi's early days as a low-budget horror director and his commitment to his roots, which I respect. Oh yeah, that line totally won't bite Peter in the ass. I know it's not an intense argument, but Cliff Robinson's non-verbal expressions of feeling hurt actually really do sell well. Snap it to a Slim Jim. Yeah, I didn't know that the guy playing Bonesaw was, a professional wrestler, not just any professional wrestler, a one of the best, like Randy Savage, late but great, and it is sad that he passed away. Yeah, like he died at 59. That's pretty sad. Well, 58. Now, the ring announcer is that friend I was telling you about. A frequent collaborator. Not just any frequent collaborator. Sam Raimi's most frequent collaborator, Bruce Campbell. Now, Bruce Campbell is been Ash Williams in the Evil Dead trilogy. And of course, I didn't know that was Octavia Spencer. I never imagined her career would go so far in films like The Help and Shape of Water, but it's great to see. I mean, Octavia Spencer is definitely a gem. And eat my shit. Kind of one-sided, isn't it? Yeah, so Bruce Campbell was known for playing Ash Williams in the Evil Dead trilogy and would return to play the character in the Starz TV show Ash vs. Evil Dead. And Campbell has collaborated with Sam Raimi for many times, and they were childhood friends. And of course, I'll also know him best for playing Coach Boomer on Sky High. And so we would have a famous moniker. Hey, at least you're not a werewolf tarantula monster. Well, those are some colorful insults for a PG-13 movie. Oh, Filed under D for dead. And of course, that's a pretty decent amateur costume, all things considered. They even made an action figure of that. I actually remember having it. Unfortunately, me being a clumsy kid, I broke it. Okay, I don't know if I'm clumsy, but like any child can be reckless and accidentally break toys. It happens. Yeah, you should have read the fine print. Playtime. And of course, this is definitely what happened in the comics. I mean, Peter tested his powers out by, fighting a wrestler. Ooh, that quote will totally age great. Isn't that cheating? Again, it's fictional wrestling. Anything goes. Even if professional wrestling isn't actually real, but the injuries are real. I tell you what. Well, is that a golf club or a fire poker? Victory! Yeah, $100 in 2002 would be worth $176.58 today. Still, what a riff. And trust me, I've been ripped off, too. Oh, it's so nice of Carradine to patiently wait for Parker to get out. Yep, and so this infamous moment could certainly won't bite Peter in the ass. Yeah, how do you like those apples, jackass? Of course, like I said, that totally won't bite Peter in the ass. Nothing could go wrong. And now he notices this? And of course, an Amazing Fantasy 15 is like Peter learned this when he was coming home, but either way, the tragedy is still there. I know people like to make fun of Tobey Maguire for the unintentionally funny faces he makes when crying over Uncle Ben's death, but it's actually his acting is still great in this, and he pretty much expresses the 5 stages of grief very well, and it's there's tragedy in it. I mean, it never seemed half-assed to me when I was a kid, and I never make fun of it. And of course, the one thing that really saves the scene is definitely Danny Elfman's score. I'm sorry, I'm going to be mentioning Danny Elfman's score a lot in this commentary because, it's iconic. I'd say it's as iconic as John Williams' score of Superman. It's right up there. It's definitely one of my favorites. Even if I'll admit the Spider-Man 2 score is equally great. They're both great. Now, of course, the visual effects were provided by Sony Pictures Imageworks, and they did the special effects for every single Spider-Man film up until, Spider-Man appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When it came to Spider-Man Homecoming, then the visual effects for those films were provided by Industrial Light and Magic. At least he didn't crash like last time. I tell you, Dennis Carradine is a reckless driver. I bet you he failed his driver's license test several times. I mean, it took me 3 times to really pass my exam to gain a learner's permit. It was not easy, but I got it. I'm proud of myself. It's like, get over here! Whoop, duck. Or leap. Show off. Oof. I hope Uncle Ben was covered with insurance. Because that car is wrecked. I hope that was a stunt car, because it would be such a shame if Sam Raimi's real-life Delta 88 actually got, pummeled. That would be bad. Damn it. Damn it, damn it. Ooh, the upside down shot. That's still cool. Hope it was done practically. Famous last words. And so Peter learns that the guy he failed to stop was Uncle Ben's murderer. And it's a rather tragic irony to it. Really tragic. Of course, it's not like, it would be, imagine if the guy was alone when he did it. And of course, in the comics, Peter let the murderer live and had him hung up for the police to arrest. He didn't really fall to his death. But, movie's got a movie. And of course, Peter reflects on this. Yep, and he decided to yeet on out of there. Yeet! Ugh, I think yeet at this point is so outdated. And so Peter learns that he could have stopped it, and the guilt will eat at him for a long time. And of course, props to Rosemary Harris. I didn't even know that she was British, but she's still my favorite Aunt May in a live action movie. Yeah, modern, very model of a modern Major General. Information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. And nothing would please Norman than to put you out of commission. But it's not a UFO. I mean, it's a flying object, but it's not an alien UFO. Kaboom! But that's a really cool scene transition of the explosion to the graduation caps flying off. It's the start of something new. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Nah, you're a lost Flash. You know, I'm not gonna lie. My graduation ceremony was pretty awkward. I couldn't even be in line with my friends, and I was with these guys that I didn't even know. I barely knew them, so it was an awkward experience for me. But man, I mean, I do miss high school, but you know, I'm over it. I wish I could redo my graduation ceremony, but hey, that's life. Once again, this is great. This is a good grieving acting, acting of grieving. Very well done on Toby's part. In spirit and in our hearts. And also, this is a good acting scene of guilt. I mean, I once said that Tom Holland's acting in Spider-Man Far From Home, when he expresses guilt, is so well done. It's like, to the credit of Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, when they have to have Peter feel guilty, they really sell it in their acting when it comes to the guilt they feel. And it's guilt has always been one of Peter Parker's greatest motivations. I mean, Peter Parker became Spider-Man as a hero because his greatest motivation was guilt. The guilt he felt for unknowingly causing Uncle Ben's death, even if it isn't 100% his fault. It's like that guilt still stays with him. It never goes away. Usually, comes great responsibility, and that becomes Peter's big MO. And finally, we get the iconic superhero outfit, the red and blue. I mean, seriously, this was one of my favorite suits of Spider-Man, and we get the most awesome montage. It's Spider-Man! So, I don't mean to get so giddy, but I just love it. Masked man foils robbery. What, Beethoven? Oh yeah, that's cool. That Spider-Man suit. Wackadoo. Courtesy of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Now, that lady is Lucy Lawless, another frequent collaborator of Sam Raimi. Now, Lucy Lawless became famous on the Sam Raimi produced television show Xena Warrior Princess. But yeah, I didn't even know that was Lucy Lawless at the time, but now I do. And God, that mask is so cool. Now, before J.K. Simmons was cast as Jameson, Stan Lee, the creator of Spider Man, was interested in playing J. Jonah Jameson. But the filmmakers felt that Stan Lee was too old to play the part convincingly. And the late actor and Marine drill instructor Arlie Ermy was considered for the role of Jameson as well. Now, J. Jonah Jameson made his comic book debut in the first issue of Amazing Spider Man. And of course, what's interesting is that when Jameson was created in the comics, Stan Lee based Jameson off of himself, based off of all of his worst aspects. So it's understandable why Stan Lee would have wanted to play Jameson. And of course, that little guy, that guy with the glasses, that's Sam's brother, Ted Raimi. Now, Robbie Robertson made his comic book debut in Amazing Spider-Man number 51 in 1967. Now, Robbie was one of the first black characters in comics to play a serious supporting role instead of a comic relief. Also, Robbie Robertson also went to high school with the villain Tombstone. You probably remember Tombstone from, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's pretty supportive of him. The first boss. Hey, we all gotta start out somewhere. Third. I didn't even know that Kirsten Dunst was actually a blonde. I mean, she certainly rocks the red hair, in my opinion. Storm and Norman. Oh yeah, the first mention of the lizard. So yeah, so Peter was employed by Dr. Connors, and then he was he became his student. Dr. Connors must be patient with Peter, even if he fires him. Ooh, do I detect a hint of passive aggressive jealousy? That is humility. Ooh, let me tell you, getting slapped by a gun is not a pretty picture. I hope I never experienced that. And again, I'd probably have to piss someone off really badly to get bitch slapped with a gun. Huh. So that money comes in bags. What I say whenever I pick up the mail and it's not for me. Sorry, that was my new phone. Now, before Elizabeth Banks was cast as Betty Brant, she auditioned for the role of Mary Jane, but she was turned down because the filmmakers told her that she was too old to play Mary Jane. I also didn't know that she was Effie Trinket in the Hunger Games movies. I mean, that is definitely a range. Meat. Now, Betty Brant, who was one of the original love interests for Peter Parker, made her comic book debut in The Amazing Spider-Man number 4. It's really cool how far Elizabeth Banks' career went, as an actress. An awfully can't refuse. Now you know how Steve Jobs felt. Yeah, scarier without it on. You know what they say. Nothing personal, just business. And of course, this was my introduction to, singer Macy Gray, who's best known for singing I Try. And it's definitely a nice product of 2002, because, I mean, the last time she was, her most recent one was she was in The Masked Singer. But, yeah, it's like, but she definitely has a very distinct voice. And that's I'm gonna have to re-listen to that song. Hopefully he'll be there. Perfect words to say. Oof. It's definitely a rocky relationship. My spider senses are tingling. But what is it? Oh, look, audition for Tommy Wiseau. Ahaha. And of course, I guess we could talk about the Green Goblin's entrance finally. Now, we all know at this point that that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin. Now, the Green Goblin made his comic book debut in Amazing Spider-Man number 14. And of course, like I said, Norman would make his full appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 37 in 1966. Norman Osborn's identity as the Green Goblin was revealed in Amazing Spider-Man number 39. And of course, Willem Dafoe was insistent on wearing the Green Goblin suit, despite the fact that it took him an hour to put on the suit. But, I mean, for the most part, it's good, even if the mask is kind of not exactly the best. I mean, it would have been better if they put green makeup on. That way we have a very expressive face. But, it kind of works for it. And nope, there's Stan Lee. Fun fact, Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee admitted that the cameo appearance he made in the 2002 movie is actually his least favorite cameo appearance he's ever made in a Spider-Man movie. I don't blame him. I mean, my favorite appearance he's ever done, I'll explain later in a later commentary. Whoop, this looks like a job for Spider-Man. Well, I hope he's insured. And so they become Bastard Skellies. And he's dead. I mean, that would kill anyone. Now, the many costume designers that worked on Spider-Man's costume, Green Goblin's costume, were the many of them that I have to mention, that I'll mention as best I can. They were Cynthia Black, Tom McDonald, and Rick Spencer. Now, Cynthia Black was a seamstress for Jason Goes to Hell, a local costumer for the 1994 Wyatt Earp Western movie, and he worked on Jerry Maguire, Practical Magic, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, the live-action movie, Charlie's Angels, the movie, and The Irishman, directed by Martin Scorsese. Now, Tom McDonald was an uncredited costumer for Forrest Gump, and he worked on costumes for L.A. Confidential, Saving Private Ryan, Inspector Gadget, Galaxy Quest, Castaway, Looney Tunes Back in Action, 51st Dates, The Aviator, with Cynthia Black, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Argo, and he was second unit key costuming for Iron Man. Now, Rick Spencer was a costumer for the Daredevil movie starring Ben Affleck, Get On Up starring the late Chadwick Boseman, Pee-wee's Big Holiday, the 2016 Magnificent Seven remake, 13 Reasons Why, the TV show on Netflix, and King Richard starring Will Smith. Now, Rick Spencer did costuming for all three Spider-Man movies. Now, the additional suits and masks were designed by Tom Woodruff Jr., who also did uncredited makeup work for the film as well. Tom Woodruff Jr. is best known for working on makeup and special effects for such classics as The Terminator, Star Trek III, Aliens, Monster Squad, Tremors, Alien 3, Starship Troopers, the Alien vs. Predator films, the It films, the recent Predator films like The Predator and Prey, Smile, Smile the horror movie, among many others. But it's really cool to mention all this. Now, of course, we were also this close to having Wolverine appear in Spider Man. Yeah, Hugh Jackman was originally going to appear as Wolverine in the movie, but Hugh Jackman was unable to appear as Wolverine because the crew couldn't get his costume in time, the black leather costume. But could you imagine if they decided to use the iconic comic book yellow and blue costume as an alternate suit and he'd appear in that? I mean, I would have been cool with that. I mean, it definitely would have been a great way to say, oh yeah, he's a variant from a variant timeline. It's a real shame that a lot of the characters from Marvel Comics, like the X-Men and the Hulk, couldn't officially appear in the Sam Raimi movies. But fun fact, in the novelized adaptation of the 2002 movie, I actually read the novelized adaptation. Reed Richards and Bruce Banner are actually mentioned they're mentioned in the book adaptation, and yeah, they're actually included to be interviewed for the Daily Bugle. It's actually kind of cool how the novelist mentions all these Marvel characters. It's an interesting idea. Bite. You're lucky. I mean, he's right. And I totally know how he feels. Hi, gonna get some rest? I'm Tony. Yeah, somebody. What's so funny? Now, the exterior of the Osborne Mansion is located in the Crowing Windsor Tower at 5 Tudor City Place, Penthouse 5. And this is good mirror acting on Willem Dafoe's part. Now, Tudor City is an apartment complex on the east side of Manhattan in New York City, bordering the Turtle Bay and Murray Hill neighborhoods. And it was designed in 1988. It started in 1986, but eventually it was designated in 1988. The site was historically part of the Turtle Bay Farm, which had been acquired in 1795 by Francis Winthrop, who named the area Prospect Hill because it overlooked the East River. But yeah, the area was first developed following the Civil War when the streets between 1st and 2nd Avenues were largely built up with brownstone-fronted row houses erected for the middle class. Green meanie. Crash. Yeah, if you looked at the newspaper, you'd know. But I have to give Jameson credit. He actually sticks out for Parker and doesn't reveal him. But, I always thought he did it out of cowardice, but he's doing it to, defend Peter's life. Could you imagine if the fumes ricocheted and then hit Jameson? Yeah, thanks for the info. That's true. That's definitely some ADR dubbing. I notice it now. I sometimes can't believe that the film was nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars, but yeah, it's definitely a good reason why the second Lord of the Rings movie, The Two Towers, won the Oscar. It's definitely better than the visual effects in Spider Man. I admit it. I can't take it back, but I admit it. Oh, that's nice. Oof, that's cold. Trust me, in today's standards, $7 won't get you much when it comes to cheeseburgers. A good question. Ah, she says the line, Tiger. Why she does, I don't know. But it's one thing we associate with Mary Jane. Ooh, even Peter knows that's not good. Ugh. J.D. Vance's favorite characters. Perfect timing. Oh, mask slipped off. You never do notice it until you do. Did he faint or something? Or is he afraid of heights? Why do you sound like a muffled version of Peter Parker, who I met a few minutes ago? And so we get one of the most iconic scenes throughout the film, the kiss. I mean, it's very well done. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, yeah, she's technically cheating on Harry, but who cares? It's a nice movie moment, right up there with Superman flying with Lois, and she starts saying, "Can you read my mind?" I wonder what. I actually wonder what the 2002 Spider-Man's equivalent to "Can you read my mind" would be. At least she's not singing if he can read her mind. Yeah, Lois was gonna sing "Can You Read My Mind." Thank goodness she didn't. Maybe you should have brought your baby with you. Remember when they used footage from the 2002 Spider-Man film for the MTV Movie Awards with Jack Black as Spider-Man? I remember seeing a clip of it when I was 6 and wanted to watch it, but my mom was like, "Nope, you can't watch it." But now I eventually got to watch it, but it's understandable why. Now, the question is, did the Green Goblin cause the fire? I think he might have. Goblin started the fire. It was always burning when the world kept turning. But oh yeah, this definitely shows Peter at his most heroic. Oh, you are such a spoil sport. And she's loud enough to be heard. Thanks for the warning. Weird, I can hear elements of Nightmare Before Christmas, but, it's Danny Elfman. Hi, gonna get you out of here? I'm Tony. Oof, averted the spider senses on top of it. I'm not pathetically predictable. I'm Spider-Man. Could you imagine if you used the bombs instead of those? Oh shoot. Oof, that's gotta hurt. Yeah, I bet you Norman owned that that building and probably burnt it because it's like, hey, I could use this for, I could burn it for insurance money. Oof, it's getting toasty. Now, I'm not sure if this is Christmas or Thanksgiving. Probably Christmas. I'm not sure. Definitely Christmas, because who eats fruitcake on Thanksgiving? Actually, who eats fruitcake in general? Who has cranberry sauce on Christmas? Oh man, could you imagine if he did it 5 seconds too late and then they walk in on him in the Spider Man costume? Oh boy, how do you explain that? Uh oh. Oh please, that's nothing compared to my room. And so that scene would be spoofed throughout the 2000s. But that is a good hiding spot. Hopefully no one looks up. Actually, I mentioned Wolverine could have appeared, was gonna appear in the movie, but I wonder how would he have appeared? I guess we'll never know. Yeah, sweet potatoes. Ouch. 'Tis but a scratch. Oh, it is Thanksgiving, but who has fruitcake on Thanksgiving? Whatever happened to pumpkin pie? Yeah, and Norman instantly puts two and two together. I guess he is something of a scientist. I bet it was store-bought. Ouch. Now, is that Norman speaking, or is that the Green Goblin speaking? That does make you wonder. This is going to be an awkward Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, I'm with Aunt May on this. Actually, it's sweet that Mary Jane calls May Aunt May. Could you imagine someone walking in on Norman doing this? That would be an awkward explanation. Actually, he'd be like, "Do you mind? I'm busy. And knock next time." It's actually sweet that May prays, with a picture of Ben. That way, he's always there. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, I sometimes forget that Kevin Feige also produced this, and I can understand why he really wanted other Marvel characters to appear. But of course, after the success of other Marvel movies, that became impossible and more impossible. A real shame, but kid me would have loved that. Oh yeah, Peter knows what she's talking about. Oh, did I mention that Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie, was also the first Marvel movie to feature the Marvel movie logo? I never noticed that until I watched Blade 2. But yeah, it's true. We didn't see the on-screen Marvel logo until the first Spider-Man movie. It's not what it looks like. At least, I hope Harry thinks it's not what it looks like. Beautiful exterior shot. Don't know what the interior is. It would be so funny if Harry just walked in on Norman just cackling. And of course, this film was my first introduction to James Franco. It's like I can't condone his actions, but he's still my favorite live action Harry Osborn. I'll just say that right now. Now, is that the goblin speaking that? Hmm. Yes, and rewatching this, it's like now I'm starting to wonder. Okay, did Green Goblin say this, or did Norman Osborn say this? Since they're two distinct personalities. Which is ironic because one of the producers was close to doing a Spider-Man movie, and he did Superman. Except for Jameson, apparently. Wait, does Peter even have his own cell phone number? Now, you could say that this scene is also a reference to, you know, Spider-Man's confrontation with the Green Goblin in on the George Washington Bridge in Amazing Spider-Man number 121. You know, the night that Gwen Stacy died, and I think it's a good compromise in my opinion. Yeah, those kids are going to be traumatized for life. Well, it's not what he's done, it's what he's about to do. Or could do. Yoink. Superhero landing. And there go his slippers. Who are probably going to need therapy when they survive this. Oop, spoiler. Well, at least Spider-Man didn't tell Goblin to let them go. He'd probably say, "Very poor choice of words. Ha 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 ha." At least he, flew in there instead of using his webbing to catch her. That would have been a fatal choice. Just ask Gwen Stacy. I'm sorry, was that too soon? Ahoy! People say ahoy in 2002? Wait, do people even say ahoy today? Yeah, if Mary Jane wasn't afraid of heights back then, she's probably afraid of heights now. Ah, man, she must have strong hands if she's able to hang on tight. Ah, nice catch. And we finally get a scene that actually kind of makes sense in my opinion. The people of New York defending Spider-Man. I do love this scene. It is a nice gesture of the people of New York and the positive impact that Spider-Man leaves on people, the people he saved, and so on and so forth. And I like it. Yoink. Oof. Not a good landing. Uh-oh, not again. Well, at least that bomb didn't turn him into a bastard skelly. And again, I think it was kind of not too close the way it was for the others, for the other board members. Yeah, I'd probably make that sound if I was landed like that too. Oof. Now, was those metal sounds that were destroying the webbing? That's definitely off-putting, but definitely stands out. Oof, wrong words to say. Yeah. Watch your step. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. That would have killed anyone else. Seriously. But, Norman took it like Wile E. Coyote. Or Tom the Cat. Yeah, you keep MJ's name out your damn goblin mouth. Actually, I know that Will Smith would bitch slap Norman if he said the same thing about Jada. Right. Oh yeah, it's definitely Norman talking. Trying to manipulate Peter. Yeah, I don't think Peter needs spider senses to know that Norman is bullshitting him. And this is a great line. A very good line. Yeah, definitely the Green Goblin probably took over. Now, this scene of, Norman getting impaled by his glider is actually a reference to The Amazing Spider-Man number 122, which was the way Green Goblin kind of died, and he stayed dead for, I think, at least 2 decades, but, bad weeds don't know when to die, and, Green Goblin's death didn't last. Specifically, Norman Osborn's death didn't last. If I was Peter, I probably would have saved myself a lot of trouble by just telling Harry that, your dad was the Green Goblin. But he stupidly removes Norman's suit and just makes it look like an accident. Not a great plan. Where'd he go? And the scene, in my opinion, is quite bittersweet. I mean, the villain's defeated, but Peter doesn't get the girl. It's very bittersweet, but it makes sense. I mean, Spider-Man's a bittersweet kind of character. Two of them, actually. Money? Oof. And I heard Harry said he wants Spider-Man dead, but oh, his friend Pete he can trust. Sorry, I had to reference the Weird Al parody song. It had been on my mind for a while. The urge has been so hard. That's the tragic part about Spider-Man. I'm surprised Peter Parker hasn't compared himself to Oppenheimer and say, I am become death. In the novelized adaptation, Mary Jane actually stands up to her father and, goes no contact with him. And good on her. Yep, now an MJ is all hot for Peter now. I mean, yeah, to be fair, Peter is probably the only man who treats her right, unlike, Flash and her father and Norman and Harry. Now, of course, in James Cameron's version of Spider-Man, Peter would reveal to MJ that he is Spider-Man, and, then they get together. But Peter understands that if he starts a relationship with Spider-Man, anyone who finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, will go after MJ, and that would be bad. Ouch! Friend zoned. That hurts. Yep, Mary Jane, don't you cry. You can give it a try whenever the sequel comes around. Oh, but I think she starts to realize the way he kisses is kind of similar to Spider-Man. My curse. Best iconic last words and a great shot of, Spider-Man swinging through the city. It's the perfect way to end a film. It's bittersweet. Yeah, he doesn't get the girl, but Peter knows that it's his responsibility to be Spider-Man, to help the people of New York as a hero. And this is definitely one hell of a way to introduce Spider-Man as a movie. And of course, it's funny because it's also my first introduction to Nickelback. But yeah, that is Spider-Man from 2002. It may not be as great as other modern Spider-Man movies and other modern Marvel films. I mean, we have great stuff like Iron Man and the Avengers, but I do believe that, the Marvel Cinematic Universe wouldn't have been possible without Spider-Man. I mean, if X-Men proved that films like Blade and X-Men could prove that Marvel superheroes could be profitable and could work. Spider-Man proved that characters like Spider-Man could work in a live-action setting, and they could work with a faithful comic book costume. I mean, it proved that it could work, that a colorful costume could work. I mean, thank goodness, because if we had gotten a Superman movie during the 2000s, he would have worn an all-black suit, and that would have been no fun. We all love it when Superman wears a red and blue suit, and we all love it when Spider-Man wears a red and blue suit, even if that webbing is a pain in the butt. But yeah, it was definitely like Spider-Man left an impact on me as a child, and he still leaves an impact on me to this day, even if reading his comics in canon is like a chore. But that's how much he means to me, because I love him regardless of his flaws. And of course, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie would also produce an animated TV series that slightly follows the continuity, but I definitely see it as its own thing. I mean, why would Harry Osborn be a blonde in this cartoon series? And of course, that version has Neil Patrick Harris voicing Spider-Man, and cool thing is, it even features the Kingpin, and I'll probably mention that when I do a commentary for the original Daredevil movie. But yeah, that's my commentary for Spider-Man, released in 2002. This was a fun one. I mean, it's one of my favorite childhood movies, right up there with Space Jam and other iconic movies. And it's the reason I love Marvel so much. But yeah, thanks for listening to my commentary on Spider-Man. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.